So my name's Maddie, I'm General Manager for Norby and I've been with Butcombe for 8 years now. So we had training at the King's Arms in Melksham, which was really helpful actually, training on the system. Obviously we've used S4 for years, but it's really interesting to see some little tips and tricks and like functionality that we didn't know was there. And then also training on just kind of the concept of the Goldilocks visit, what the days would be, and how the process was going to work. So it started off by just kind of looking at our existing deployment, what we were already doing, talking through the needs of the business, the different things that make the business unique. For example, 8 of our hotel rooms are in a completely different building at the bottom of the garden, so it presents quite a challenge for housekeeping. So yeah, talking through that kind of thing. And then we did a walk around of the business with ourselves, head chef, head housekeeper, ops manager, S4 labour, just to kind of get a feel for what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Then we looked at putting together a base rota and a high sales week rota. And then like talking through them, analysing them and getting our Goldilocks figures based from that. I think it's really kind of illustrated a need for cross-training. You're looking at your slack and your stress, and we had a situation where in the mornings our housekeepers were starting at 7, cleaning the pub, and then kind of waiting around for rooms to check out. So there was definitely a lot of slack there. At the same time, when everyone comes down for breakfast at once, it's very busy. So there was a bit of stress front of house. So then those two things led us to cross-training our housekeepers so that now for an hour in the morning, they help with breakfast whilst they're waiting for the room to be ready. In the kitchen, there was very much a, 10-10 is kind of the shift that the chefs do. Whereas we've now looked at sort of staggered start times. You don't need everybody in at 10, you can phase it throughout the morning. And it really helps to kind of have the numbers and the data to back it up when you're having those conversations. Looking at, having, that hour where you're a bit stressed and you might need an extra person, can someone that started at 3 o'clock finish at 8 o'clock and someone else start at 7? So actually, you're not going to get a member of staff in for an hour, but that 1 hour you do have the extra bodies you need. The deployment graph is really useful at just, spotting those pinch points. I think it's definitely improved our guest experience, particularly when the pub's quiet. We're always looking for how we can save labour when those sales drop, and as the kind of Goldilocks number and that deployment graphs have been really useful in looking at where we can afford to save labour and where we do need to prioritise keeping those hours in. There is a more of an understanding. It's a really helpful training tool, especially with like team leaders or like junior assistant managers that are still, learning, not to just send someone home at 6:30 that looks quiet and then you get slammed. It's quite a useful training tool in that respect. I think there's just more of an awareness of making the hours actually count, that you're in the business, and having that downtime and that slack time being a bit more structured and like, okay, these are our slack hours for the week. We need to make sure we're doing this in them rather than just doing it ad hoc. It's good. It means that whatever time of day, if someone walks in and they want something, we've got the chefs in the kitchen to do it. And those hours are really useful for prep, and there's no reason why it can't be done in the middle of the day rather than in the morning. TAPS has really helped with accuracy in terms of the hours that we're paying people for, paying them for every minute they're working, not a minute over, not a minute under. I would recommend the programme. No, I think it goes back to that whole, like, if you do what you've always done, you'll get the same results as you've always got. And you can be very fixed in your mindset of like, well, this is what a day looks like. But actually sitting down and kind of looking at it with fresh eyes does give you the opportunity to rethink if the way that you're doing it really is the best way to be doing it.